Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Ramon. First time you're stopping by, I'm a Nigeria designer based in Lagos, Nigeria. So in this video, I'm going to show you guys how to cut and sew these oversized shorts with this sleeveless top. So it's something that you're interested in, definitely go watching. So guys, let's right into it. For this tutorial, I'll be using 2 yards of ankara fabric and 2 inches elastic pant. So I went ahead, I folded my fabric into 2. So from the edges of my fabric, I come down by 0.5 inches for the sewing allowance on the waistline. After that, I'm going to raise my tape up by 2 inches for the elastic. So from there, I'm going to mark my distance between my waist to the hip, which is 9 inches. So for the crotch length, I'm using 12 inches. So I added 1.5 to my crotch length. My crotch is 10.5 plus 1.5 is for the short, because the short is not fitted. On the hip line, I'm going to take in my hip measurement. My hip is 42 divided by 4, which is 10.5 plus 2 inches is. You can do as much as how full you wanted your shorts to be. So after that, I'm going to add 1 inch for stitches allowance. So I'm going to take the measurement to the waistline and down to the crotch line. After I'm not connecting it together, for the cross extension, I'm going to divide my hip circumferences by 16. So mine is 2.5 inches. So after that, I'm going to curve out my crotch cuff. After I'm not cutting out my crotch cuff, the next thing I'm doing now is to mark in my short length. So I'm going to raise my tape up by 2 inches and mark in my crotch length, which is 16 inches plus 2 inches for hem allowance. So I'm going to rule out the straight line. After I'm done rule out the straight line, I'm going to come up on the crotch line and measure what I have there, which is 16 inches. That 16 inches, I'm going to take it down to the hem line and mark it. So after I mark it finish, I'm going to connect it to the crotch line. So guys, we are done with the front. Let's cut. So guys, we are done with the front. Let's move to the back. So I'm going to take one piece from the front and place it on top of the fabric. Make sure that your fabric, you folded it into 2. And make sure that you leave about 2 or 3 inches up for your back extension. So for mine, I'm using 1.5 inches. So I'm going to mark 1.5 inches there and connect it to the knotting on the side. After connecting it, I'm going to measure what I have on the front waistline, which is 14 inches, and take it to the back waistline. After mark it, I'm going to roll out a straight line there. I'll be using 1.5 inches for my crotch back extension. So I'm going to take that 1.5 inches down to the hemline. After I'm not taking that 1.5 inches down to the hemline, I'm going to rule out a straight line there. After I'm done roll out the straight line there, I'm going to connect the crotch together and cut it out. So guys, we are done with cutting out the short. Let's cut the top. From the edge of my fabric, I already come down by ½ inch for stitches allowance. So the length I'm using is 18 inches plus 1 inches hem allowance, which is make it 90 inches. So I mark down 90 inches. After that, from the shoulder line, I'm going to come down by 10 inches for the bust line. So I also root out a straight line there. So after I'm done roll out a straight line, I'm going to come up on the shoulder line and marking my shoulder measurement. My shoulders is 15 divided by 2, which is 7.5. I mark that 7.5. And on the bust line, I'm going to come up by 1.5 inches for the chest line. I will also roll out a straight line. For the shoulder slope, I'm going to come down by 1 inches on 7.5 inches that I mark for the shoulder line. So after that, I'm going to take that 7.5 inches down to the chest line and mark it. So after I'm done marking it, I'm going to connect the point together. After I'm done connecting the point together, on the hemline line there, I'm going to divide what I have into 2 and mark the midpoint. So for that midpoint, I'm going to come in by 0.75 inches. After that, I'll come down to the chest line and take in my bust. Make sure my bust is 36 divided by 4, which is 9 inches plus 1 inches for the ears and 1 inch stitches allowance. So after that, I'm going to curve out my armhole curve. So after I'm done curving out our armhole curve, I'm going to come down to the chest line and measure what I have then, which is 11 inches. That 11 inches, I'm going to take it down to the hemline. Basically, what I did here is my bust circumference divided by 4 plus 1 inches is allowance and 1 inch stitches allowance. That is the measurement that I used. For the neck width, I used 3.5 inches and 8 inches for the neck depth. So after I'm done marking it, I'm going to connect my shoulder point to my shoulder slope. After that, I'm also going to connect it to the neck depth. So when I'm cutting it, I'm going to add in my stitches allowance to the armhole, the shoulder, and the neck line. So for the neckline, I didn't add the stitches allowance to it because what I wanted to use for the neck width is 4 inches by 8.5. So I already had half inches to it, which is making it 3.5 by 8 inches. I don't know if you guys are getting me. For the neckline, I'm supposed to use 4 inches by 8.5, which I use 3.5 by 8 inches because I've already added stitches allowance to it when I'm marking the neckline. So guys, we are done with the front. Let's move to the back. From the edge of my fabric, I'm already marking my stitches allowance for the shoulder. So after that, I'm going to come down by 10 inches for the bust line, 18 inches for the top length, and I added 1 inch for the hem allowance. So after that, I'm going to roll out a straight line. So after I'm done roll out a straight line, on the bust line, I'm going to come up by 1.5 inches. On the shoulder line there, I'm going to mark in my shoulder measurement divided by 2, which is 7.5 inches. I'll come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. On the chest line there, I'm going to take that 7.5 for the shoulder down to the chest line and connect the point together. So after that, I'm going to mark the midpoint and come in by half inches. That is the reason why I didn't use my front fabric to cut the back because of the armhole line. Because for the front, we come in by 0.75, while the front I use half inches. That is the reason why I didn't use my front to cut out the back. So on the chest line there, I'm going to mark in my measurement, which is 30 divided by 4, which is 9 plus 1 inch is and 1 inch stitches allowance. So after that, for the neckline, 3.5 by 1 inches. So I'm going to connect it together and also connect the neck point to the shoulder slope. So I'm going to measure what I have on the chest line, which is 11 inches. So I'm going to take it down to the hemline and connect the point together. So after connecting it to the chest line, I'm going to cutting it. So when I'm cutting it, I'm adding my stitches allowance to the fabric. So guys, this is how everything is. So the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut the facing to the fabric. So I'm going to fold another fabric into 2, place my front fabric on top of it and use it to cut out the facing. So I'll also do the same thing to the back. I'll fold the fabric into two and use it to cut the facing for it. After I cut out the neckline, so I'm going to mark 3.5 inches all the way around. That is what I use for the front. So guys, we're also done with cutting out the blouse, so let's move to the sewing part. So I'm going to start with my short first. So on the side, I'm going to come down by 6 inches minus stitches along on the waistline. You can see I start from 1/2 inches from the waistline, so I'm going to mark in 6 inches. So after notching it, I'm going to cut out the pocket. So I'm using a suit lining for the pocket because my fabric has finished. There's nothing remain to cut the pocket. So I'm going to mark 7 inches and cuff out my pocket. So this is how I wanted my pocket to look like. You can see how it is. So after that, I'm going to cut it out. So after I'm done cutting out the pocket, I'm going to place it on the side where I notch. So I'm going to place it and make sure that it's facing the right side of the fabric. So I'm going to pin it on both sides of the shirts. So after I'm done pinning it, I'm going to take it to the machine to go and stitch it. So after stitching it, this is what it's looking like. So the next thing I'm going to do now is by joining the side. So I'm going to pick one for the front, one for the back, and pin it together. Make sure that the both right side is facing each other. After I'm done pinning it, I'm going to sew it from the waist to the pocket down to the hemline. Just look at the way I use my hand to show you guys. So I'm going to do the same thing to the second leg. So after I'm done pinning it, I'm going to take it to the machine to go and stitch it. So after stitching it, this is what it's looking like. I also went ahead, I joined the inseam leg together. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to join the ruche cuff. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make sure that the right side of the ruche is facing each other from the inseam leg. So I'm going to pin it to the back and also to the front. So after that, I'm going to take up the machine to go and stitch it together. So after I'm done stitching it together, this is what it's looking like. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to measure what I have on the waistline, which is 25.5 inches. So I'm going to use that 25.5 inches to cut the band. So I went ahead, I cut out the straight fabric on fold, and I have 25.5 inches plus half inch, which is making it 26 inches for the width and 2.5 inches for the length of the band, because half inches is for stitches allowance. After that, I'm going to unfold it and took to the machine to go and join the side. So after joining the side, I'm going to fold it back and cut out my elastic band. For the elastic band, I'm using 2 inches elastic. So to cut out my elastic width, I'm going to divide my width by 2 inches plus 6 inches. So my waist circumference is 32 divided by 2, which is 18 plus 6 inches. So after that, I'm going to cut it and took it to the machine to go and join it together. So after joining it together, I'm going to insert it inside the fabric. So to do that, I'm going to show you guys how I do it behind the scene. So I'm going to put the elastic inside the fabric. So after putting it inside the fabric, I'm going to pin it to the short waist and start joining it together. So when you are joining it, you'll be arrange the elastic inside the fabric. And make sure that you do not stitch elastic together with it. Be careful when you are stitching it, because if you mistakenly join your elastic together with the fabric to the waist, it's really hard to pull it together with the fabric when you are top stitch on top of the waistband. So guys, after I'm done joining it together, the next thing I'm going to do now is to top stitch on top of the elastic waist. So when you are top stitch on top of the band, make sure that you are pulling the elastic and use your hand to arrange the pleating. So as you are pulling, arrange the pleating and continue sewing. So guys, after I'm done with the first step, I'll also do the second step. So guys, I'm also done with the second step, and this is what it's looking like. So after that, I'm also going to fold in my hem allowance and stitches. So guys, after I'm done stitching my hem allowance, so we are done with the shorts. So let's move to the top. So for the top, I'm going to place the back and front together, make sure that the right side is facing each other. So after that, I'm going to pin the shoulder. So after pinning the shoulder, I'm going to hook it to the machine to stitch it. So I'm going to pin the facing shoulder together to hook it to the machine to join it. So after I'm done stitching it, I'm going to place it on the neckline and make sure that the right side of the fabric and right side of facing is facing each other, and pin it. So guys, after I'm done pinning the facing to the neckline, I'm going to take the machine to go and stitch it. So after stitching it, I went ahead, I top it on top of the facing and make sure that your stitch allowance is facing towards the facing. To hold my facing in place, I went ahead, I joined the stitches allowance on the facing together with the stitches allowance on the fabric. So this will allow my facing to stay in one place. I also went ahead, I used a bias to turn in my armhole, but if you don't want your home to be sleeveless, you can attach your sleeve to the armhole, but because mine is sleeveless, I went ahead, I used the bias to turn in my armhole. After that, I'm going to pin the both sides together and take it to the machine to go and join the side. I'll also fold in my hem allowance and stitch it. So after I'm done stitching it, I went ahead, I iron it this is what it's looking like. So guys, this is the end of today's tutorial. Don't forget to like my video, comment, share, and also be notified whenever I post a new video, you'll be notified. See you guys in my next video.